Hello guys and welcome back to Oz on the Ball. This is my round 3 tips video. So yeah, we're already 4 rounds into the season, which is quite crazy, but it's still quite hard to get a read on teams and how they're going, and it could be anyone's game at the moment, really. So last week got 3 out of 8 Ollie's calls, with one of those being Bailey Smith's 100 plus fantasy points, like one of those wrong, but he didn't play, so it's really 3 out of 7. And 5 out of 8 tip. So it was an interesting week for my tipping, with me getting a few right. So I first of all got 5 out of 8. Up 16% of Australia still, so not too bad. Hawthorn v Carlton. Hawthorn won by 20. I tipped them by 32, so margin not great. Then Bulldogs Collingwood. Collingwood got up in a controversial result given the free kick count, but Collingwood did end up winning, so there's a correct tip. Then Adelaide v Essendon. This was a crazy game, 161 to 100, but Adelaide absolutely smashed them. They look like they're going to be a good team this season. Port Adelaide v Richmond. Some people thought Richmond might get up, but Port Adelaide got the easy win, as you would expect. And then St Kilda Geelong. Now, this was a tip I was happy to get wrong. Geelong, I think it was like 98% of tippers to 2%, and the Saints got up, won by 7 points, an amazing win, and hopefully that kickstarts our season. Then Lions v West Coast. West Coast were up early, but then Lions brought them back down to earth, winning by 19. Melbourne v North. Now, a few people tipped North, not many, but wowee, 59 points is an absolute smashing. Nobody would have expected that. That's a very big win for North, probably their biggest in a long time. Then the last game I was slightly annoyed about, Fremantle v Sydney. Obviously, tip Freo, Sydney won in a very close one. So I was slightly annoyed because it was a pretty 50-50 game. But still, overall, not a bad round of tipping, and Gold Coast v GWS had the buys. So on the first game of the round, this should be a pretty interesting one. Marvel Stadium, 7:30pm Thursday night. Got Essendon v Port Adelaide. Could be a decent game, but Essendon coming off a smashing to Adelaide last week. Then you got Port Adelaide. It's very hard to get a read on them at the moment, losing by 91 points and then winning by 72. This game could really go either way, but you would think Port Adelaide should have the upper hand on Essendon, because Essendon were quite disappointing the way they played last week. They looked okay against Hawthorn, but nothing special. So I reckon it'll be decently close, but I reckon Port Adelaide will get up by 16 points. With my Ollie's call, Zach Merritt scores 110 plus Supercoach points. Next game, also at Marvel, 7:40pm Friday night, Carlton v Bulldogs. Now this looms as a big game, especially for the Blues, with an 0-2 start, could be 0-3. Last week lost to Hawthorn by 20, but it was a good effort. Like, compared to the week before, it was a pretty good effort. Hawks are probably premiership favourites, so it wasn't too bad, but still, they're 0-2. They could be 0-3, so things not looking great for them. Then the Bulldogs, well, they were basically playing Collingwood and the umpires with the free kick count. You would probably say that they deserved to win that game with the free kick count, but look, if they were good enough, they would have won. So you could also make the point that the umpiring doesn't matter, doesn't have an effect. If you would have won, then you should have won, or stuff like that. But I reckon Bulldogs should get up in this one comfortably by 27, with my Ollie's call Carlton score less than 15 points in the last quarter. Next game, MCG, 1:20pm Saturday, Melbourne v Gold Coast. Now this is also a big game, especially for Melbourne. Very disappointing last week, losing by 59 to North, and I think it was like 8 goals to 1 in the final quarter. It was pretty stupid. So they're 0-2. They did look alright against GWS, but then didn't look great against North. Gold Coast record 0-1 last week. They had the bye. This should be a pretty good game. Gold Coast, it's a bit hard to tell because they played West Coast and then had the bye. But I reckon Gold Coast get up in this one by 11 points, with my Ollie's call Ben King kicked 4+ goals. Next game, Marvel Stadium, 4:15 PM Saturday. Got Saints v Richmond. Saints with a record of 1-1. Last week beat Geelong by 7. I was really impressed as a Saints fan. Probably the best we've played in a while. We looked good at the end of last season. We beat Geelong, we beat Carlton, we beat Sydney, a couple of good wins like that, smashed Essendon. And then we looked horrible against the Crows, but then we played well on Saturday night. We just had more effort than Geelong and looked like we wanted to win the game, which was very nice to see. Then you got Richmond, who are 1-1, same as the Saints, but it's very hard to tell as well with them. Beat Carlton, but was that a fluke? And then lost to Port Adelaide by 72, which you would expect. I think, though, the Saints should beat Richmond, especially at Marvel. Saints play they're probably top 8 side at Marvel, but then they're not great everywhere else. So I'm going to tip the Saints by 29 with my Ollie's called Richmond lead at quarter time. Next game is Hawthorn v GWS, Utah Stadium, 7:35 PM Saturday. This is game of the round, I reckon. This should be a cracking game. Both teams undefeated to start the season. Hawks are 3-0, and while GWS are 2-0, so going pretty well. So yeah, this is going to be a very interesting game, and it's definitely going to be one of the better games of the round, if not game of the round. So both teams, as I said, 2-0. Undefeated. Last week, Hawthorn beat Carlton by 20. Last week, GWS has the bye. These are probably the two premiership favourites. I reckon this is going to be a tight one, though. And I reckon it'll be high scoring as well. So I reckon I'm going to tip Hawthorn by 4. My others call both teams score 90+ points. Next game, Saturday night. Now, this is a rescheduled match. This is the opening round match that, obviously, due to Cyclone Alfred, got moved. It has now been playing round 3. Not quite as exciting as it would have been as first game of the season, but still should be a pretty good match. Lions are 2-0, but probably the worst 2-0 side you've ever seen. They beat West Coast, but they had a shocking first quarter. They looked alright against Sydney. Then you've got the Cats, record of 1-1. Last week lost to St Kilda by 7. They played well against the Saints in probably the last quarter, but apart from that, they didn't look that good, and the Saints just outclassed them, had more effort. But again, it's really hard to get a read on either of these teams. But Brisbane are pretty good, usually pretty good at the Gabba, so I'm going to tip them by 19 with my Ollie's call that Josh Dunkley has 30+ disposals. Next game, one of the two Sunday games, Adelaide v North Melbourne, Adelaide Oval, 3:20 PM Sunday. Adelaide, record of 2-0, last week beat Essendon by 61. They look like they're going to be top 4 side this year. They've just got the ability to kick big scores, and they've got an all-star forward line. Thilthorpe's really come into form. Rankin, you've got Keys playing and scoring goals. You've got Tex Walker, obviously. You've got Fogarty. They've just got goal kickers everywhere. You look at Shelley, and then they've got Dawson in the midfield, which is really good asset for them. So they just look unbeatable at the moment. Then you've got North's record of 1-1. Last week beat Melbourne by 59. Well, it was a pretty surprising performance. They looked okay the week before, but didn't look great. But they had some real standout performances from players like Paul Curtis. I think he kicked 3 goals and had 20-odd disposals. Cherry played well as always. I think Larky kicked a couple, Zerha kicked 4 maybe. So pretty good, but it's at the Adelaide Oval. Adelaide have looked unbeatable this season, so it's pretty hard to go past them. Going to tip them by 45 with my Ollie's call. Adelaide kicked 6+ goals in the first quarter. Then final game of the round, Western Derby, 17th v 18th, which is crazy. 6:10 PM Sunday. West Coast 0-2, last week lost to Brisbane by 19. They looked like a really good side in the first quarter, but the inevitable happen. When I saw 32-2 at quarter time, or 32-8, I think it was, I thought they're probably not going to hold on. And what happened? They lost by 19, but it was a good performance and a lot better than round 1. Then you've got Freo 0-2 last week, lost to Sydney by 3. Now, They played well, but Sydney just got on top in the end. You would expect them to win a game like that at home, though. Sydney were 0-2 going into the game, so you would expect them to win that. But look, they played all right, and obviously week before they didn't play great. But I think Freo should be too strong in this game, winning by 53. With my Ollie's call that Harley Reid has 20 plus disposals. I know I've had a Harley Reid disposals one before, but I feel like if he doesn't have a good game, they're going to drop him, and he's due a good game because he has not been playing well lately. So just a quick recap of my tips. I reckon Port Adelaide should get up, and I'm going to say a margin of 16. Then Carlton Bulldogs, pretty 50-50 game. I reckon Bulldogs get up. Then Gold Coast, Melbourne, I reckon also another 50-50 game. Gold Coast get up. I'm going to tip the Saints. Should get up comfortably over Richmond. Then GWS Hawthorn, Hawks should get up. Lions should beat the Cats. And then on the Sunday, Adelaide should beat North Melbourne and Freo should beat West Coast. So those are my tips for the round. Thanks for watching Ollie's on the Ball. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll try and get a few AFL videos out soon. I'm just quite busy, but I will try and get some non-tips videos out soon. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.